OTAs are well underway for the Indianapolis Colts, and there are already plenty of storylines happening on West 56th Street. How is Anthony Richardson progressing? Is Michael Pittman Jr. okay after an injury scare? And who else is standing out so far? Drake, it feels good to finally be back to talk about it. Welcome to the Horseshoe Huddle Podcast presented by Fan Nation on SI.com, part of the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Andrew Moore, back from paternity leave. It's been a fantastic last couple of weeks, spending quality time with the family, welcoming Jackson into the world. Danielle and I are over the moon. Both mom and baby are doing fantastic. But Drake, it's so nice to be back with you here and back with everybody else, all of our loyal fans here on the Horseshoe Huddle podcast to talk some Colts football with you all. But how you doing, buddy? It's great to see you.
I'm doing fantastic, man. And it was a wonderful time hosting the show, and props to Noah Jaber, just one hell of an addition to the team. So Noah, we know you're probably listening. Thank you so much for filling in for me when I was gone and filling in for Andrew when he was gone. But great to have you back, dude. And at a perfect time. This is a nice, chill, relaxing time for Colts news, but it's just such a crucial time as well, because you've got such a young team developing, learning really you've got the JT-AR connection really for the first time. There's a lot of excitement here, and it's a little different than for most teams. There's a couple other teams in the NFL in the same position the Colts are in, where this is huge. Developing your team right now is really big for Indianapolis, and I'm excited to talk about OTAs. I know typically they're not that exciting, but it's a perfect time to discuss it, man.
Yeah, and I want to give props to both you and Noah. You guys were fantastic. Drake, I knew you would be a great host. I know Noah would absolutely knock it out of the park co-hosting. You guys did a fantastic job holding the fort down while I was away, and really couldn't be more thankful for you guys, for the entire Horseshoe Huddle family, for all of the loyal our fans, our listeners that reached out, congratulated me. And it was very warm. It was very warm and humbling to see kind of everyone's so how nice everyone was in the outreach. So fantastic stuff. Really appreciate every single one of you. Special shout out to Drake and Noah as well for absolutely killing it over these past couple of weeks. Lindsay Mack getting us started out with a $5 super chat. Lindsay, thank you so much. And it's good to be back. Congrats, Andrew and the Moore family. Welcome back. Thank you for filling in, Noah. Well done, Drake, hosting. Looking forward to listening tomorrow. Go Colts. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for all of your support. And yeah, exactly. Thank you to Noah for filling in for me, doing an excellent job. And Lindsay, it's good to be back. Thank you so much for your support. My beautiful wife, Danielle, the absolute rock star of a mother that she is, powering through. And guys, Jackson made quite the dramatic appearance. Things got a little bit scary there. I'll just say that. But hey, mom and baby both doing fantastic. And very, very blessed that we had such caring nurses and doctors to take care of us there, to have a successful time and welcome the little guy into the world and have him be as healthy as she is. But Danielle was an absolute rock star, and just amazing through the entire thing. So thank you so much for all of your support. Patrick is in the house saying that he's back. Patrick, thank you so much for your outreach as well. He reached out to me personally, and Patrick, I couldn't say enough about how thankful I am for you as well. Truett, Andrew, we missed you. Congrats to you and Danielle. Really, really appreciate it. And Truett, of course, with the $2 super sticker. Thank you so much for all of your support. Scotty Colt, who is Logan Schmidt, the GOAT. It's the Dad Cast. Absolutely. Hey, we might even in the future kind of introduce both of our little ones here. Show them off a little bit. Jackson and then Drake's beautiful daughter as well. Maybe right before Father's Day. Maybe that'll be fun to kind of do. But thank you so much for your support. Sarah is in the house. Hey, Andrew and Drake, welcome back. Andrew, congrats to you and your wife. Thank you so much. John Davis, congrats on the bundle of joy. Yim with the $2 super chat. Congrats, Andrew, and thanks for covering. Drake, you guys
Thank you, buddy.
you guys are too nice. Thank you all so much. Don't see Stats Matt in the chat. He better get his butt in here. If I can return, Stats Matt can be here as well. But I've done I've done enough talking as it is. If you guys haven't done so already, I don't know what you're doing, but please go follow all of our things on social media. Like Horseshoe Huddle on Facebook, follow at Colts on FN on X, and subscribe to the Horseshoe Huddle YouTube channel. Hit that bell so you know when Drake and I go live every Monday and Thursday night, or like tonight, it's a Tuesday night because of the holiday. So make sure you're following along so you never miss an episode. But if you can't catch us live or on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts, we're on there as well. So make sure you subscribe, give us a 5-star review so we can reach other Colts fans just like you. So Drake, let's dive right into it, buddy. We got a lot to talk about from Colts OTAs. So the Colts officially started OTAs last week. They will continue this week, and then I think mandatory minicamp is next week, the first week in June. And then we don't see the Colts, Drake, until the end of July when they report back for training camp at Grand Park there in Westfield. So this is our last opportunity to see what this Colts team is going to look like before things get real at the end of July for training camp. And, we've heard from Shane Steichen, we've heard from Anthony Richardson, we've already heard from quite a few coaches and players on this Colts team. And it seems like vibes are really high over there at West 56th Street. This team is excited about what they can do for 2024.
Well, yeah, and look, man, I can't recall a time when there's been more excitement around the Colts team, from top to bottom. And you're also talking about right now is the time when the rookies are really digesting that playbook, and it's just a lot to take in. It's a Shane Steichen scheme and a Gus Bradley scheme. I obviously think it's harder to digest Shane Steichen's offense than it might be Gus Bradley's defense, but you're looking at a team that has so much young talent that last season, Andrew, guys like Daniel Scott, guys like Jake Witt, guys like Evan Hull, Anthony Richardson just didn't even really get to do much, and I keep going back to it, man. I'm so pumped, even if it's just in really light preparation right now, to see the JT-AR combination. I just think that could potentially be something lethal in the league. So, yeah, it's an exciting time if you're a Colts fan. This is when everything has finally come together for Chris Ballard, but you also have to answer. So he just better hope that everything starts hitting pretty quick.
Exactly. But then the thing that'll make things hit the quickest is Anthony Richardson taking off. So all eyes have been on the quarterback since last October, wondering when he comes back, is that shoulder going to be 100%? How's he going to look potentially? And is he going to be the Anthony Richardson of old? And honestly, from everything that we've seen, that we've heard, that we've from what's happening at OTAs, Anthony Richardson is back. He has no restrictions with that shoulder. He doesn't feel like he is limited at all. The ball is still jumping out of that right hand of his, and he's still able to hit all those deep throws, have the same velocity on that football. So all of the physical stuff is there, Drake, which is a very, very good sign, not only for this team, but for Anthony Richardson himself to come back, just have confidence in that arm, not have to worry that shoulder isn't going to, number one, hold up, because with the surgery that he had, it should reinforce that shoulder so this injury never happens again. But he's coming back at full strength. He didn't lose anything because of that shoulder injury, and that's gotta be just really good for Anthony Richardson to have in the back of his mind, to not have to worry about that shoulder anymore. Start even now, out there at OTAs, but especially going into the season, he's going to have his full arsenal of ability there at his disposal.
Yeah, and we're talking about a guy that obviously he's very quick with understanding things and digesting a playbook, and he's got so much to offer as far as his awareness, and I think he's got incredible pocket presence. But what makes Anthony Richardson intriguing is the physical skill set. Okay, it's that rocket arm, it's that regenerative surgery that he got, and that preventative surgery that he got, that is just so crucial. And so to see that ball, like you said, I love the way that you word it, just leaving his arm like it's nothing. That's what you wanted to see. That's what you were hoping to God as soon as you heard he was getting surgery, that's what you would see at this point, is him just out there throwing to the receivers, looking comfortable. The ball has no issue getting to where it needs to be. All right. Now you just got to start focusing. What did we say last year? On the fundamentals now. So you're getting back to where you needed to be. So it's great to see. Now start lining it up with the rest of that young talent that's all around Richardson. I'm telling you, he has, I think, an underrated supporting cast that surrounds him right now in a Shane Steichen-led offense, man.
Well, and the thing is, too, Shane Steichen talked about it last week about, Anthony Richardson's mechanics and his fundamentals. They look really good. It hasn't, because of the shoulder injury, you might think, Richardson hadn't thrown in a while, had to take that time off pretty much all throughout the winter until February, I think, is when he started to throw again. But, without being able to throw for multiple months at a time, you might think his mechanics might slip a little bit, or he might fall into some bad habits. That just hasn't been the case. Steichen's been very happy with how he is mechanically. He still has a very compact delivery. His footwork looks really good. No longer, Drake, from every clip that I've seen and from everything that I've heard coming out of the Colts, one of those things that mechanically I thought he could clean up with his footwork was, he kind of was a little bit of heel clicky. When you're a quarterback, you're supposed to want to try to keep a solid base. You don't really want your feet to come together. You want them to stay solid, because then you have the best balance. You can be the most accurate. Well, now, it seems like that's not in his game anymore. Every clip that I see and everything that I've heard, he's very balanced. He's really cleaned up a lot of those footwork issues. So and his delivery just looks very compact, very quick. He's got a quick release. He's not taking forever to deliver the football. It looks really, really good. So everything mechanically, I think, is not only the same, but I think it's improved a little bit, which is fantastic to see. And then another thing that you've kind of heard Shane Steichen and the rest of his coaching staff talk about is Anthony Richardson no longer looks like a rookie. And what they mean by that is he's no longer just kind of trying to figure things out of how to adjust to life in the NFL. While he only played 173 snaps last season, and I talked about this in my piece on horseshoehuddle.com today, it's been over a year since the Colts took him number 4 overall. He doesn't feel like a rookie anymore. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he needs to do. He has a much better understanding of this Colts offense. He has a much better understanding of what NFL defenses are trying to do against him as well. That kind of goes back to those special projects that Steichen gave him throughout the season. Even though he wasn't on the field, he was still staying engaged with the day-to-day to the quarterback room and those projects to help him advance mentally in the NFL game. Now, when these OTA period, mandatory minicamp, training camp, it's about taking what he learned in those months that he couldn't play, taking what he learned in the classroom and then putting it to use on the field. And so far, everything that we've heard from Shane Steichen, from Jim Bob Cooter, the guys that are really watching him closely every single day, he's doing exactly that. He knows where to go with the football, and it's becoming second nature to him. He looks sped up, and in a good way. He's not rushing things, but he just knows where to go with the football, and he's getting through his reads quickly. That's what you wanted to see from Anthony Richardson. If he's not able to make that progress on the field, you still wanted to make progress in the classroom mentally, so that way when he does get back on the field, everything he can pick up where he left off and potentially get quicker at his processing. And it seems like he's well on his way to doing that.
Yeah, and if you remember when he was drafted and around the whole draft process last season, I mean, it's pretty simple, man. The guy had the ability to dissect all of the film. He had the ability to really show, especially in the limited snap count he had in the 2023 season, he was far ahead what any one of us thought. And I still go back to his pocket presence. The reason it's so impressive, I know that every quarterback needs it, but quarterbacks don't always have it. Okay. And when you're ultra mobile, bigger than most of your pass rushing competition, by the way, faster than most of the guys running after you, and that can even cover your receivers, a lot of quarterbacks struggle with leaving the pocket too soon, or not reading it well, or not feeling the pressure. Anthony Richardson does not. Okay. So none of this is surprising to me. I mean, the tape that we researched, Andrew, last season we knew that if the Colts hypothetically at the time took Anthony Richardson, this is the worker you were going to get. You were not getting Ryan Leaf. You were getting Peyton Manning as far as the research, the guy who's going to dive into the tape. He's going to be endless about it. And while his confidence took a hit, he also recently said, I feel like myself again. And so that's huge. He doesn't feel like a rookie. He feels like he's right up to speed. And he has the ultimate supporting cast that's around or at his age around him, man. So it just all looks really good. It's all going to hinge on the health, kind of like me and Noah were talking about. Everything depends on Anthony Richardson's health. But, man, as long as he's out there, this looks like it could be a pretty potent offense and a really exciting team to watch, man.
Yeah, all things considered, when you're talking about Anthony Richardson, the physical, it looks like he's passed all of those tests with flying colors, and he's bringing more to the table on the mental side of things as a quarterback as well. So everything from the Anthony Richardson point of view from the Colts, all arrows are pointing up, which is fantastic for not only Richardson himself, but like I said, the future of this team, maybe even where he can take this team in 2024. But in order to do that, I think he's going to need to have all those weapons at his disposal, which makes what happened on Wednesday kind of scary. When Michael Pittman Jr. went down, and Michael Pittman Jr., as we know, is one tough SOB. He's a dog. He really only gets knocked out of the game if it's a concussion. That's the only time we see Pittman missing time. So what happened on last Wednesday was Michael Pittman Jr. was going up for a pass, and Jalen Jones was covering him, and they kind of collided together. And Pittman was down on the ground for quite some time with the trainers around him. Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen both went out there to look at him. Pittman did walk off the field under his own power. He was walking a little bit gingerly and kind of with a limp, stood on the sidelines for a little bit before heading inside. And that's really the last we've seen of Pittman on the field. But talking with Shane Steichen after that practice, Steichen said that it looks like that Pittman and Jalen Jones just bumped knees, and he hit his knee just in a weird way. So probably going to be sore for a little bit. But what Shane Steichen said is he doesn't think it's very serious, and if it was serious, I think we would have heard by now coming out that Michael Pittman has a serious knee injury. We'll have to see if he's out there this week. Maybe the Colts are just going, at this point in time, want to take it a little bit slow, make sure that you're not pushing Pittman if you don't have to right now, because remember, it is still May, and beginning of June. The Colts won't take the field for their first game, for first regular season game in I think 100 days or close to 100 days, something like that. So, but still kind of scary when your number one receiver goes down in the beginning of OTAs, but it seems like from everything that we've heard, Pittman and the Colts, missed out on what could have potentially been a huge injury and this devastating injury to this offense.
Yeah, and look, you just don't want this offense, at least not right now, to not have Michael Pittman Jr. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, but look, Shane Steichen kind of confirmed that they just collided knees, which, I mean, to anybody that's played sports and done that, it sucks.
And it doesn't feel good. That's for sure.
Pretty much can't walk for like a day, at least not normal. So not surprised to hear that Pittman was limping off the field. But at the same time, man, like you said, I remember when that initially happened and everyone was sent into a pretty quick frenzy. Like everyone was like, oh my God, there goes Michael Pittman. Now you're looking at Josh Downs, A.D. Mitchell, and Alec Pierce as your receiving core. So, but like you said, tough SOB. Don't be surprised if you hear some nicks and cuts from this guy. He's just so physical and he's just so competitive that, his style kind of warrants at least a little bit of contact every now and again. You just don't want it to end like this. So happy to hear that he's good and excited to see him progress with Anthony Richardson even more, man.
Yeah, and it did offer an opportunity for Adonai Mitchell to get out there more with the ones. Patrick says, I was amped to see A.D. Mitchell get in there as first up with the ones when Pittman had to walk off the field. And honestly, we'll talk about Adonai Mitchell a little bit later, but Drake, from what I've seen and heard, Mitchell's been getting quite a few snaps with that first team offense. So he's really assimilating himself well to this Colts offense. Reggie Wayne is certainly impressed with what he has brought to this wide receiver room early. His mentality, Reggie Wayne has said that Adonai Mitchell is always smiling and ready to work. So good things coming from AD Mitchell here early in his NFL campaign. But again, getting back to Michael Pittman Jr., the Colts have huge hopes for Pittman. Obviously, just signed him to a 3-year, $70 million deal to be Anthony Richardson's number one wide receiver. And we saw early that Pittman was starting to connect and create some chemistry with AR. And when we saw as the season went along, the passing game a lot of times went through Michael Pittman Jr. So to have him, you want him to stay healthy so that way him and Anthony Richardson can be on the field as much as possible this upcoming season.
Yeah, and I mean, got a lot of high hopes for him. I know that
Mhm.
one of my predictions for him is that he's going to, as long as you can get a season or at least damn near all of a season with Anthony Richardson, I think that he's going to top his catches, his targets. I think that he's going to top his receptions or his receiving yards. Like, I think that there's just way more opportunity now. AD Mitchell, I think, is at some point going to get more activity. I love Michael Pittman with Anthony Richardson, love him in this offense. And like you said, man, I think that the sky's the limit for him at this point. So
yeah, really, really, the sky is it. People are really high on this Colts offense and what they can do. Now, if you look at the other side of the ball, I think there's more question marks over there, particularly looking at the secondary. And this is really interesting when I was kind of catching up on things, Drake, is that it seems like the Colts are outside of Kenny Moore. None of the cornerback positions are locked down. The Colts are really going into this with an open competition in mind between Juju Brents, Jalen Jones, and Dallas Flowers. This is the primary three guys. Can someone else kind of get into that mix with a fantastic OTAs and training camp like a Daryl Baker Jr. maybe, or like a Jalen Simpson? We'll have to see. But as of right now, it's going to be a fight between those three guys to see who the starters are at those outside cornerback positions. So, I mean, you would probably think that as of right now, Juju Brents would take one of those spots, and then the other one will be between Jalen Jones and Dallas Flowers. But when you hear those Colts coaches talk, they're not locking Juju Brents into one of those starting spots yet. Brents is still going to have to go out there and earn one of those starting reps and if he does it and he struggles, you really could be looking at a starting outside cornerback duo of Dallas Flowers and Jalen Jones for 2024 if Brents can't solidify himself as a starter. So Drake, I want to ask you this: what do you think about kind of going in to this as an open competition? Not having Juju Brents solidified as that starter. Do you think that's the right move to just have all three of these guys compete? Or do you think that the Colts coaches should give a little bit more assurance to a guy like Brents, take him in the second round, that he is going to be that starter? What do you think?
Well, I mean, look, it's a brutal league. I think you have to consider that you played 9 out of 17 games for Juju Brents. Okay. Number one, you missed 8 of the 17 games. All right. So in that time span, a guy named Jalen Jones, who also, as we all know, beat out Darius Rush, which at the time we were all like, what the hell are the Colts doing? Jalen Jones is the reason Darius Rush is not in a Colts uniform. Okay. Like, he far outperformed his expectations. So I think that the fact that he showed glimpses, obviously he got torched at times against guys like Devontae Adams, still has room to grow, but Jalen Jones is a legitimate competitor. And in his 4 games, Dallas Flowers showed a lot of promise to stay with the fastest receivers you can possibly get in the NFL. So I think that there's just a lot of open competition there. I think that that's a perfect way to put it. It's a perfect thing to do, because for Juju Brents in those 9 games, Andrew, he showed a lot of promise, but he also showed an ability to get destroyed. So every one of these guys is right now, the guys we just mentioned outside of Kenny Moore, who's like the unicorn here, they're all kind of like at an even playing field. And, so it's perfect to let them all fight it out. Let's see which one of these guys ends up as the starter. For all we know, maybe Brents is behind Flowers and freaking Jones. You just don't know, because Jalen Jones and Flowers both threw a wrench into all this, being far better than anybody expected.
Yeah, I agree that Jones and Flowers were pleasant surprises last season, and I think that's going to be a dogfight. Now, I will say this: when so far in OTAs, when the Colts first team defense has gone out there, it has been Brenson Jones as the two starting cornerbacks. So I think if you want to look at it that way, those two probably still do have the leg up on those on Dallas Flowers. I think Dallas Flowers, if anything, is going to have to be the guy that comes up and proves that he deserves to get his starting role back. So it's going to be a very interesting battle, not only just here in OTAs and mandatory minicamp, but throughout training camp as well and throughout the preseason. But yeah, Drake, and I think we saw Brent's as he had some really good moments and he had some not really good moments. I really think that's just life as a rookie cornerback in the NFL. That's life as a cornerback, just not even a rookie, just as a cornerback in the NFL. The way the rules are and how these fantastic talent at wide receiver right now, you're gonna get burned sometimes, and that's what happened to Juju Brents. But he showed enough that if he can stay healthy, and that's what Chris Ballard, it's what Shane Steichen have said all offseason. Juju Brents just needs to stay healthy. They feel like if he stays healthy, he gets those live reps. Brent's even talked about it last week, I think, when he said, being able to be healthy and getting all of these extra reps, it's just so vital to me. And he's learning a lot. He feels a lot more comfortable at this stage than he was a year ago, and he feels like he's so much farther ahead already this season of where he started last season, which is good. You as a cornerback, you need that confidence. Cornerback, I think, more than any other position, maybe outside of quarterback or kicker, that having that confidence in your own ability is so crucial to your success. So if I had to say right now, yes, it is an open competition, and I do think that Brents and Jones are going to have to go out there and prove it. I think Brents has a better chance of starting week one. You can has a better, or I'd say I'd be more comfortable locking in Juju Brents as a starter when it comes to week one than I would be Jalen Jones, because in the end, I still do think that battle is going to be between Jones and Flowers for that final outside cornerback position. So, but so far, I know that everyone was talking about Brents getting burned on a deep ball that the Colts put out where Richardson threw it deep to AD Mitchell and Mitchell caught it over him. Brents was in practically perfect position on that. That was really good coverage by Juju Brents. And while you see that play, you might not see all the other plays where Juju Brents is out there locking down wide receivers and making plays too. So I'm maybe higher than most on Juju Brents and his ability, what we can see from him in 2024, because I think if he just stays healthy, getting those consistent reps and not having to start all over and lose that momentum, I think that's going to be key for Brent's success. And if he can stay healthy, I think he's really going to ascend this year. I have confidence in that.
Yeah, and look, everybody, I know that I like to point out a little too much that he got burned by Nico Collins. Number one, Nico Collins is probably a superstar receiver.
Nico Collins just got paid,
Big
now
time.
he's a top 10 paid wide receiver in the NFL.
And he got paid kind of similar to Michael Pittman as far as the salary. So you're talking about probably a star receiver there. And also it was his rookie season, man, and he'd struggled with injuries. So the physicals are there. The scheme fit is perfect, and he definitely has more upside than everyone else outside of Kenny Moore. Okay, so don't sleep on Juju Brents just yet, but I am very intrigued, Andrew, like you said, to see what he does, what Jalen Jones does, what Dallas Flowers does, really just the entire cornerback room as a whole this offseason. It's going to be a battle, man.
Now, a group that we haven't talked about yet is the rookies. We've seen them. We saw them in rookie mini camp. That was right before I think I left was rookie mini camp, and from that session, Latu was burning everybody on the offensive line, which honestly not a surprise there. It looked like he belonged, and Adonai Mitchell was carving up the secondary that was out there for other Indianapolis Colts, which again, not surprising in the least. But now they're with the rest of the team. Now they're out there going up against, Latu is going up against Bernard Ryman Adonai Mitchell is going up against Juju Brents, Kenny Moore, those guys. So it's going to be different to see. So let's talk about it. So from what I've heard and from what we've seen, Latu is impressing. He's impressing with his effort. He's impressing with his tenacity out there as well. He's really impressing with just his work ethic and how quickly he is absorbing everything that the Colts coaches are giving him. Now, when the Colts first team defense is going out there, it is still Samson Ebukam and Kwity Paye as the two starting edge rushers. But honestly, Drake, I think we kind of expected that. We expected that here at first. And maybe when we get to training camp into the middle of the season, that's when you could see Latu as a starter. Again, I think it would be more of that Leo spot where Samson Ebukam is rather than the big end where Kwity Paye is. But with Latu, I think you can just move him around. You can put him at both, and he's going to excel. But it's good to see him. He already looks and feels like he is an NFL pass rusher, and he feels like he's going to make a big impact. And that's, I think, kind of what you want to see out of these initial OTAs. You're not looking for a guy to be an absolute superstar right away, but you're looking to make sure that they belong. And Latu certainly looks like he belongs, and he's not out of place amongst this Colts defensive line, which tells me he's going to be a pretty big contributor on this defensive line throughout the 2024 season.
Yeah, and I mean, look at this entire defensive front, man. It's stacked, even without Latu. I mean, it's a deep one, okay? Like, they got a lot of talent there at defensive end, and they showed it last season. So I think that it's good for him to not be thrown out there as a starter. Plus, you got to earn it, dude. Even if you're the number 15 overall pick, the 10th pick, the 5th pick, whatever, you have to earn that spot. Okay, so he's got to go out there and make it happen. Now, based off of what we've seen, man, right away he was – now the horseshoe tattoo – love the dedication. It's ugly in my humble opinion, but I mean, look, man, you're 23 years old and you are a stud, so you do whatever you want, okay? But the character, I loved watching the video where I think they like tricked him into thinking he was answering a fan question, and it was his parents telling him that he'd never quit. And just, you got a great story here with Latu. So he's also only 23 years old. You got to give him a little bit of time to develop. Okay, he really has only played for 2 seasons. So the thing though, Andrew, is I love how you said it's not surprising, because no one should be surprised that he's doing this. But in those 2 seasons, while it was just 2 seasons, holy crap, did he destroy college football. He was the highest graded player in all of FBS in overall defense per PFF, man. I mean, the guy is a monster. He will pressure the quarterback. He's good enough in run defense. He's got the skills to get 10-plus sacks annually. I mean, you've got yourself a stud here, but you still have to learn at the pro level.
Yeah, I think Wyatt Law captured this perfectly. Charlie Partridge must feel like a kid in a candy store. So many talented guys to coach. Bliss. Absolutely, Wyatt. I think Charlie Partridge is over the moon with the talent that he has at his disposal on this Colts defensive line. So, but yeah, I mean, he just looks like he belongs. And I think Charlie, the more he's there, the Colts are going to put Latu in positions to succeed all through his rookie season. It's just going to be fun to watch how he continues to get more and more playing time and how his role develops on this defensive line. But Latu's already been seen getting after the quarterback in those second team reps when he is out there. Another rookie, Adonai Mitchell. Mitchell has already been making some big catches. We've seen it in the clips that the Colts have posted. He's been getting run with the first team going out there, whether it is for Michael Pittman when he went down or for Alec Pierce. The both of them have been switching out as the X wide receiver. So Mitchell is already getting reps with the first team offense, which is really good to see for his involvement in this offense and for his role, not only throughout the season, but early. He could have a pretty big role early on in this Colts offense. So that's always really good to see. But yeah, and I talked about this a little bit earlier. Reggie Wayne has been super impressed with Adonai Mitchell. For all the character concerns about Adonai Mitchell that people were talking about, I mean, Reggie Wayne has shot those down again, saying that he comes in every day with a smile on his face, ready to work. He's always in a good mood. Reggie Wayne said, "I'm a guy that can be moody. I haven't seen Adonai Mitchell not smiling since he's been here. So, Mitchell's impressing this Colts coaching staff. He's impressing Reggie Wayne early. And this is exactly the type of things that Mitchell needs to do, is impress the coaching staff and go out there, put some tape on the practice field, show out on the practice field, and you're going to get reps on Sundays that have a big role in this Colts offense, potentially earlier than people expected.
Yeah, and I think that probably the biggest thing we were worried about was not his character. When that came out, it was not only funny that Chris Ballard dropped an F-bomb lated just defense of the rookie, which is something to behold. Go watch it. It's truly classic. But it was really the effort on the field when it came to blocking. But that's tape. That's proof. That's real. Like, you can document that. That's what I'm mostly worried about. And I just don't think you're going to see that. I don't know why. I just have confidence in Reggie Wayne. You see what he did with Josh Downs. Not saying Josh Downs did not have the skills to do that with any team, because I truly believe he did. But when you have tutelage from a guy who will be a Hall of Fame receiver, who played with arguably the best quarterback mind that you can put on a field to this day in NFL history, that's pretty great, So I think that AD Mitchell's development is just in perfect hands. But yeah, like I love the skill set, the speed, just the size, the way you can use him in this offense. It's just fantastic. And even though Pittman was hurt, like Patrick said earlier, it was just kind of cool to see him in that first team offense, because that's what they drafted him to be. And they hope that at the end of the day, they can have him, MPJ, Josh Downs, and Alec Pierce all as 4 viable targets for Anthony Richardson.
Exactly. And then the other rookie, the final rookie that's really been making waves, Jalen Carlisle, the safety turned linebacker for the Indianapolis Colts, already getting into the action and making plays. Intercepted Joe Flacco last week in OTAs. So Drake, this is kind of what the Colts wanted to see out of Carlisle. You bring him in, he comes down as that. He's got a bigger body, so he's going to be, a linebacker mold, but his ability to take the football away. He's got long arms. He obviously made a ton of plays at Mizzou as a safety. You bring him down here to be that coverage playmaking linebacker. If he keeps continuing to make plays like this, it's going to be hard to keep him off the field, especially in those obvious passing downs. And there was another Colts linebacker as a rookie who, in one of his first practices, intercepted a veteran quarterback and impressed, and that was Shaquille Leonard. Shaquille Leonard picked off Andrew Luck in one of his first practices. I remember it vividly. Jalen Carlisle is not necessarily picking off Anthony Richardson or a quarterback at Andrew Luck's caliber, but going out there and still fooling a veteran like Joe Flacco, going out there and intercepting him. Jalen Carlisle is doing a really good job early at Colts OTAs.
Yeah, and for Colts faithful out there, if you want to see just kind of, if you want an idea on how he performs, on how Jalen Carlisle performs, look no further than looking at Cato June. Andrew wrote a really good piece linking these two, and holy cow, are they so similar in almost every way. They play the same way almost. Their coverage style is similar. They were both converted from safety to linebacker. Don't forget, Cato June had 5 freaking interceptions, still in what you could consider the balanced era of football. So, I mean, this could be a big gold mine type of payoff if the Colts can make this work. I mean, if you get a cover linebacker, I remember in one of my articles, I can't remember which one it was, but it was a while back, where I predicted he'll get three or more interceptions. I mean, he has the coverage skills and the tracking skills and just the instincts of a cover guy. Okay, so you're getting a secondary and a linebacker in one player. Oh, man, that's going to give tight ends fits, because he has the speed to keep up with you and the size to really give you issues, especially in short yardage situations where you have to throw the ball.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Carlisle Cato June comparison. Cato June actually read my article and shared it on X, and it looks like he was a fan of that comparison as well, which is good to see. So it's gonna be fun to see how the rest of these rookies, or how we continue to watch these rookies progress throughout not only OTAs and mandatory minicamp, but then we're going to follow along with them very closely throughout training camp as well. Let's go to some other injury updates. We talked about Michael Pittman, but here's some guys that some high profile guys that aren't participating in OTAs. Braden Smith, Braden Smith had surgery on that right knee that was really impacting him throughout the entire 2023 season. He said that they fixed the issue in his knee. Now it's about just kind of building up that strength back into that knee. So Braden Smith, while not participating in OTAs, should be full go by the time we get to training camp, which really good to see for the Colts. In his stead, on the first team offense, who's been the starter at right tackle, it's Blake Freeland, which obviously no surprise there with how Freeland filled in for Smith last season. Ashton Dulin, also not participating in OTAs, coming off of that ACL injury. Dulin is running and he's close to being cleared, but he's just not there yet. So again, I would probably expect Ashton Dulin to be back in training camp as well. But then a guy we already talked about him who is participating in OTAs and is already a full go, Dallas Flowers, from that Achilles injury. And you got to remember, Dallas Flowers injured his Achilles I think over a month after Ashton Dulin tore his ACL, and Flowers is already back. So again, keep an eye on Dallas Flowers throughout this summer, guys, because I know people are writing him off, but Dallas Flowers was pretty damn good to start last season before the Achilles injury. So and he's a hungry guy too. Changed his number from 33 to 21. That obviously gives him a boost just because of aesthetics. 21 as a cornerback number is fantastic. So Drake, you'll have to see, but I'm a big fan of Dallas Flowers, and I think he's slept on quite a bit.
Yeah, I think Deion Sanders was one of those guys, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't he have number 21?
I think so, yeah.
So, look, man, Flowers, like Andrew said, just don't sleep on the guy. Give him a chance because I think that there's a lot of ability there, and the Colts converted him from an outstanding, by the way, punt and kick returner to a defensive back for a reason, and they saw something. So just keep an eye on him. He might shock you.
Exactly. Let's talk about other standouts from OTAs here before we wrap up. Kylan Granson, Drake, coming into a contract year. Will Mallory was kind of nipping on his heels a little bit. Will Mallory showed some promise. So, and then with getting Jelani Woods back, Jelani Woods is healthy. What's the future for Kylan Granson? But he's been making some really good, some highlight catches with the first team offense. He caught an acrobatic catch down the sideline from Anthony Richardson. He caught a one-handed grab from Anthony Richardson as well that came out. So Kylan Granson kind of showing off a little bit and maybe trying to extend his game, maybe not just being that quick possession tight end that can get you, a quick 8 or 9 yards, but maybe getting some deeper passes or deeper routes into his repertoire to become a deeper threat in this Colts offense as well. That would certainly help him solidify his role as that move tight end.
Yeah, and you mentioned it in one of our Bleacher Report episodes, is that you're talking about the best separator of the entire tight end room and one of the best on the entire team. So he's got value in this offense. And I think that if everything just works out and you get a guy like AR who loves his tight ends, loves throwing to Kylan Granson especially, I think that it's intriguing. I don't think it's hard to beat his career high in catches. Maybe it happens this season, man.
Exactly. We'll have to see. It definitely would be beneficial for Kylan Granson to do that since he is in the final year of his rookie deal. Yes. We have a $5 super chat from the CFO himself, Patrick. Thank you so much for all of your support, buddy. Really, really do appreciate it. Patrick says, this is all well and good, but who is going to be the camp fan favorite this year that gets booted, a la Sterling Weatherford or a Darius Rush? That's a good question. That's a very good question.
How about a guy that stays on the team like a Daryl Baker Jr.?
Yeah, a guy. Yeah, exactly. Daryl Baker Jr. really. I mean, I was on the Daryl Baker Jr. train.
He looked great
at training camp last year, and man, it just went downhill once we got to the regular season. But Drake, I'm gonna let you go first on this one. Who do you think is a guy that could be a fan favorite this year, but in training camp, but doesn't end up sticking around or on the final 53-man roster? I've got one that in my back pocket, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Camp favorite that gets booted. You know what? Real quick. Okay, I've got the depth chart pulled up here.
This is a tough question.
I'm gonna go with I think that Micah Abraham is going to show out better than people think, and I think Jalen Simpson is going to show out as this camp guy, and eventually we'll get booted, kind of like Darius Rush did.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. For me, I think it's going to be the quarterback wide receiver combo of Jason Bean, the rookie undrafted free agent out of Kansas, because I think he's gonna be electric in training camp. I think he's gonna be electric in training camp, and especially in the preseason, going out there and getting reps, be in the quarterback run game. But ultimately, maybe I'll be wrong. As Patrick says, mine is slinging Sam Ellinger. That's the easy answer. But I think people are, you see the Colts bring in Keaton Slovis, who has been in college for a long time, produced in college. Then you see the Colts bring in an really athletic quarterback like Jason Bean, who can, do the quarterback run game very well. And I think those are gonna be almost the new hot topic on the street for who's quarterback 3. But guys, the Colts still love Sam Ellinger. They love Sam Ellinger. They love what he brings mentally to the team. He's just a solid option for that quarterback 3. And again, he's on the final year of his rookie deal. You're not paying him much at all, so it's not like you have to make that type of decision. But I think people are going to really fall in love with Jason Bean and his game, to ultimately he's going to end up not making the 53-man roster. And the 3 quarterbacks are going to be Richardson, Flacco, and Ellinger. But great question, Patrick, getting us to think here a little bit. Real fun question as well, and thank you so much for all of your support as always. So, Drake, getting back to some other standouts, we talked about one tight end at Kylan Granson, Jelani Woods. Jelani Woods is out there making catches, and particularly making catches and then racking up yards after catch, which is something that the Colts really didn't have in this offense last year, especially at the tight end position. Most of those tight ends caught it, and then they would go maybe a yard or 2, if that, and get tackled. If Jelani Woods can bring a yak element to this team, that was one of the big reasons I wanted, to see to see Brock Bowers on this Colts team, because of that yak element and his ability to get the yards after catch that was so desperately missed by this Colts offense last season. If Jelani Woods can do that, I mean, that's just a bonus. And Shane Steichen had talked about, how last season he really didn't get a chance to see Jelani Woods very much because he was injured throughout the entire year. So he was coming in as a pretty big unknown. Well, now you're starting to hear Shane Steichen talk about his ability as a vertical threat, as a deep threat, his ability to win and get yards after catch. Shane Steichen said you can use him in a variety of different ways. So because Jelani Woods is showing out early, it's, getting the Colts, getting Shane Steichen's head turning about how they can position and how they can use Jelani Woods throughout this offense. So again, I think I've been on record saying that this year is probably, out of all the tight ends in the tight end room, the most pressure is on Jelani Woods to go out there, and you have all this potential. Now it's time to have it come to fruition. You got to stay healthy and you got to produce. So far, he's getting off on the right foot in OTAs, and he is producing.
I'm not surprised to hear that kind of speed, because if you look back on his RAS score from when he was drafted, you're talking about 6'7", about 260, and the guy has a 10-yard split of a 1.57 seconds, a 20 of 2.6 seconds, and a freaking 40-yard dash of 4.6. He's terrifying. I mean, he has a 10 out of 10 score. Mm-hmm. He is a freak athlete. If you can just figure out a way to keep him healthy, get him to run some kind of route, okay, and just figure out a way to get him the ball, that's all you need. I mean, he is so massive, so fast, so quick to get fast. I'm all about Jelani Woods. I even own a Jelani Woods jersey. That's how excited I am about this guy. Okay, and I bought it a while back, so I'm hoping that it all works out, because, look, if the Colts can help it, this is the guy. This is the guy that they want as their tight end 1. And with those other guys around him, that could make it a really dangerous group.
Woods definitely has the most potential out of all the tight ends on the Colts roster. Now it's just about putting it together, and it's about the Colts putting him in those positions for him to go out there and succeed. And I'm sure Steichen, like I said, he's already cooking up ways to use Jelani Woods in this offense. We have another super chat from the CFO himself. Patrick, thank you so much, buddy, as always, for all of your support. And here's another good question. Lastly, over under a 0.5 free agent sign between now and training camp. I'll go first on this one, Drake. I still think a safety is in the cards. I don't think necessarily a veteran cornerback. I think the Colts are really set with cornerback, especially with drafting, Mike Abraham and Jalen Simpson. I think they're set at cornerback. What you have is what's going to be the cornerback room. But safety, I think, is still fluid. Now, if one guy arises and really takes over that role, like Nick Cross, Rodney Thomas II, Daniel Scott, whoever, then you could see, maybe the Colts are a little bit more comfortable with the safety group that they have. But someone's got to rise above the rest in that group. And Daniel Scott, we'll talk about him next, but he may be on the way to doing that. But I think I'm going to go over, and I do think that I'll just shoot my shot here and say that I think a free safety will be signed between now and training camp.
Yeah, and I'm going to go over. I'm going to go bold here. I'm going to pick two. I think that it's going to be Quandre Diggs and Ahkello Witherspoon.
Oh, so you're going both secondary position, safety and corner there.
Yeah, you still need a veteran. I think you're absolutely, without question, going to get a veteran safety between Simmons and Diggs because they're still not going to be that expensive. But I also think that you need a veteran cornerback. I think that that's still a really young room, and why not add more competition?
Interesting. Patrick, thank you so much, buddy, for the super chat. Really appreciate it, as always. And I kind of hinted at it, but Daniel Scott's out there making plays. He's back. He's healthy, back from that ACL tear. Daniel Scott intercepted Anthony Richardson out there last week, and the defense was pretty hyped about it too. So, Drake, I know you were super high on Daniel Scott and what he can bring to this team. That free safety position, I think, is as wide open as any on this Colts team between, Cross and Rodney Thomas II and Scott. And, so far we haven't heard yet of Cross and Thomas making big plays like that, but we do know that Daniel Scott has been making plays, and he's certainly catching the eye of the Colts coaches.
Daniel Scott's going into his second season, and I think he's actually older than Rodney Thomas II. This is a guy who has multitudes of experience, multitudes of versatility. He can play special teams just for days. The guy can play coverage. He can play up near the line of scrimmage. He's versatile as hell. So I'm excited. I think that he's a wild card that could get more playing time than people are thinking.
Yeah, exactly. The Daniel Scott and Rodney Thomas II are both 25 years old. But again, crazy. The same age. Scott hasn't even played a game in the NFL yet. Yeah. But hey, I mean, you made a good point. Really, regardless of what happens, Daniel Scott's going to have a role on this team. Is he going to be a starting safety, or is he going to be a core special teamer? He'll be making an impact for this Colts team. So far, OTAs have been really good for the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of good news coming out of West 56th Street, a lot of positive vibes. Obviously, I think a lot of teams are feeling this right now in OTAs, have a lot of optimism, but could be a lot worse. The Colts could have Anthony Richardson could not be progressing well from the shoulder. Michael Pittman Jr. could have suffered a major knee injury. The rookies could be disappointing. So all good news coming out of the Colts facility is what you want to hear at this point in the offseason, as the Colts are kind of wrapping up their offseason program over the next couple of weeks, and then we get set for training camp at the end of July.
Yeah, and that's when it really starts getting exciting covering the team. So, you just hope everything continues to stay pretty smooth, and hope that you get to training camp, absolutely pristine, so that you can start developing this offense and this defense.
Exactly. And if anything, any other news breaks from Colts OTAs, we'll be sure to talk about it here on the Horseshoe Huddle podcast and make sure you guys have all of the updates. So, Drake, let's talk about the latest Colts news and rumors to wrap up the show here. And it was announced last week that the Colts will host the Arizona Cardinals in Westfield for 2 joint practices before their preseason game at Lucas Oil Stadium. Just kind of the same exact thing that they did with the Bears last season. Had 2 joint practices before that game. So if you're wondering if the Colts starters are going to play in that game against the Arizona Cardinals, I would probably say no, because they're probably going to get a lot of their work done there in those joint practices. And obviously, Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon, both of those guys work together with the Philadelphia Eagles, so that's that connection there. So it was kind of easy for the Cardinals to come a couple days early to go up against the Colts. So hey, that'll be the Colts fans' chance to see Marvin Harrison Jr. up close and personal on the fields there at Westfield. But yeah, I would expect those two days of practice to be very, very intense, get a lot of work in, and then you probably won't see very many, if any, of the Colts starters playing in that preseason game against the Cardinals.
Yeah, and hey, it's really good to get experience at this level, especially this early for the rookies, guys like that get to play against the Cardinals, who really are a team kind of on the bounce back. It's going to be intriguing to see Marvin Harrison Jr., but like you said, also Jonathan Gannon, Shane Steichen, they've got that rapport, so this really isn't that surprising to see.
No, it isn't. And then the Colts will be going to Cincinnati for a joint practice before their final preseason game. Again, kind of like what the Colts did last season with the Philadelphia Eagles. They went a day early, had a joint practice right before the game, and then but the starters did play for almost the entire first half. We'll see if that changes this season, since it's Shane Steichen's already got a year under his belt and both systems are established. But the Colts will have another joint practice with the Cincinnati Bengals going up against Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and that unit in Cincinnati before they wrap up the preseason. So 3 joint practices in total. And Drake, from everything that we continue to hear from the coaches and players, it seems like they get more out of these joint practices than they do the actual preseason games.
Yeah, and it's just because the cameras aren't on. You're not. It's just a little bit more raw. It's a little bit more competitive. I think that it's also just more free flowing. You don't have, like I said, it's not a lot of structure as far as like outside interference. It's just the teams. So I think that it's incredibly valuable. And again, if you get to work against a defensive mind like Jonathan Gannon, I mean, I think that again, that's an Arizona Cardinals team that they're rebuilding, but they're rebuilding around a guy like Kyler Murray. So I think that's going to be good, valuable experience for the Colts, especially the young players.
Exactly. And then our final thing that I wanted to talk about, and Wyatt Law actually mentioned it earlier in the show, so I'll post his comment up here. Who has seen what the players union is seeking in negotiations? They want to eliminate OTAs while starting training camp earlier. So then that came out today. I think Tom Pelissero reported that the NFLPA is putting together a proposal that instead of having OTAs in a longer off-season program in the spring, that instead it would move to the summer months, move to right before training camp at the end of June, early July, kind of have that ramp up period before training camp officially begins at the end of July. And Drake, I think personally, I'm on the fence about this one. I mean, obviously, as a media member, you kind of want OTAs and mandatory minicamp at this time in the offseason, so we have something to talk about after the draft. But from a player standpoint, I don't know if I'd want this either. Because looking at it, you kind of like to have that break during the summer, because from my perspective now as a new dad, thinking about it that way, your kid would be off school. You'll be able to spend time with your family there. If you're having the majority of your off-season period, in April and in May, your kids are likely still in school, so that they aren't getting a chance to be with their families, because some schools even go into June. So you have only a little bit of time to spend with your kids and your family before you have to go back to off-season training, and things of that nature. So in my opinion, no, I think that I've already seen that players coaches and front office people really would hate this idea. I've seen some players already come out on X saying that they're against it, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see if this does get passed, or if it's a part of what needs to get passed in order for the league or for the players to get on board with going to an 18-game season. But in my opinion, I'm not exactly sure if this would be something that I would be very happy about if I was a player. What do you think?
I'm right there with you. And, to make it short, you pointed this out on X is that, just using the Colts as an example, you're going to put them when they are typically just going through, the nice simple part of camp in the off season. You're now starting all this when Westfield is basically just ball soup blazing hot. Like look, I know that there's been changes made to the game. It's still a full contact sport.
Mhm.
Okay. Like these guys are doing enough. Okay. I understand the money. I understand the fame, but it's a full contact sport. Okay. So they're putting their body through enough, man. There's been too many stupid incidents that have happened over the years. Keep it the way it is. There's been enough changes. Change is good, but sometimes you need to know when to stop changing.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
for fans that have gone to Colts training camp or been there or at Westfield, it gets hot. As media members, Drake and I are standing on the sidelines sweating during those
Dying.
practices. We're only just standing. Those guys are out there just baking and going to war on those fields. So keep him out of that heat. Keep him. You have this happen in like April and May when the temperatures aren't nearly as hot as the June, July 90-degree high humidity days that are happening at Westfield. But hey, Colts are playing football right now. It may just be practice, but OTAs are in full swing, Drake. And like I said before, if there's no bad news is good news. Everyone is pumped for the season, but just hearing the likes of how Anthony Richardson is progressing and how these rookies are starting to find their roles makes you excited for Colts football here in just a couple of months.
Yeah, no trade drama, no gambling allegations, no quarterback search, no former players getting, dismissed as the coach. I mean, it's nice to not hear that stuff. Know how to make sausage. Oh man, it's just good to be in 2024 in this moment in Colts football. And hey, Andrew, it's also fantastic to have you back, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Gotta put this up there. NFL nerd, not enough ball soup on this pod. That was a all-time comment, all-time line
It
there.
gets hot out there, man. I'm sorry.
All-time line by Drake Wally there. But that's our show for this week, or not this week, today. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. It's so good to be back to talk Colts football with y'all, back talking with Drake and all of our loyal listeners. Want to give a shout out to all of our super chats. Lindsay Mack, my beautiful wife and fantastic mother, Danielle, Truitt, Yim, and the CFO, Patrick. Thank you all so much for all of your support. Drake and I really, really do appreciate it. If you didn't give us a super chat, we appreciate your support for talking Colts football with us. Watch and follow along, participate in the chat. You guys are what make this so much fun to do. And if you haven't done so, please go follow us on all of our socials, like Horseshoe Huddle on Facebook, follow at Colts on FN on X, and subscribe to the Horseshoe Huddle YouTube channel. Hit that bell so you know when Drake and I go live every Monday and Thursday night, or like tonight, special episodes when we have to change the schedule. Make sure you hit that bell so you never miss us. And if you can't catch us live, no worries. Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts, we're on there as well. So make sure you subscribe, give us a 5-star review so we can reach other Colts fans just like you. Drake, I know you haven't taken any breaks from horseshoehuddle.com. You've been writing away while I'm gone. Tell the people what they can go check out on the site.
Yeah, so I've got a couple positional pieces coming up, but one of my favorites that I did was my 5 bold predictions. And I think that, 2 or 3 of those, always think at least a couple of those can come true. So go check those out and go check out the rest of the writers too. We've got a lot of good stuff coming out still.
Definitely go give those a read. Myself got back on the train and released my first article from being back on horseshoehuddle.com today about Shane Steichen. We talked about how Anthony Richardson is progressing, but Shane Steichen went into quite a bit more detail about how exactly he sees Anthony Richardson progressing both physically and mentally out there on the field. So make sure you go check that out. And like Drake said, check out everything written by our fantastic writers at horseshoehuddle.com. Go follow Drake at DWalsterDrake. You can follow me at Andrew Moore NFL, and we'll be back Thursday night to talk more Colts football with you all as the off-season programs may be coming to closer to an end and winding down, but there's still a lot to talk about here for Colts Nation. So until then, everyone, enjoy your week, and we'll see you right back here on Thursday night.